So, I realized I didn't actually know what a pencil was. Really what defines a pencil, right? Quick Google search says an instrument for writing or drawing consisting of a thin stick of graphite or a similar substance enclosed in a long, thin piece of wood or fixed in a metal or plastic case. That's pretty much how we all think of it, right? However, not all pencils are created equally, right? They're all very different. First off, you have graphite pencils, which most of us think of them like a number 2 pencil, which is roughly an HB. Kind of sits in the middle. We use them in school, all of us. At least most of us, I'm sure, have used a number 2 pencil in school or in your lifetime, right? And most of us start drawing with it because, hey, I can write with it. Why not put circles on paper and then boom, you're drawing with it? But you ever really think about what it is? Why? Because we used to think of it as calling it lead. It's not really lead, it's graphite. But it's not just graphite. Most of us think of it as graphite, some kind of binder like clay, right? Depending on the kind of pencil it is, it might have more graphite or less, not because of the softness of the pencil, as in, B is softer than the H and H is harder, right? There might be more hardener in it, like some kind of clay or whatever filler. But what makes it different is graphite is hexagonal platelets on a molecular level that slide across each other. And that's what makes them shimmery, and it also makes them slippery. So it's a very nice drawing or writing experience. The more of them you have, the shinier it becomes. The less you have, the more rough it becomes. It's not necessarily darker, right? So to get darker, you have carbon-based ones, which are far less graphite, if any at all. And they're darker, obviously, they're matte, and far less reflective. That's why they're called matte for the most part. That's where the Blackwing mattes kind of sit. However, the Blackwing mattes do have a little bit, this is what got me down this whole rabbit hole, is that Blackwing mattes actually kind of sit sort of in a middle ground for me. They're dark, but they're also really soft and smooth to draw with. They don't drag like a darker pencil will. Some of my other darker pencils drag considerably, and then these kind of sit in a nice middle ground for a matte pencil, but they are shiny if you burnish them. If I burnish any of my other black ones, they don't do that, so that means the Blackwing does seem to have graphite in it, blended with probably amorphous carbon and some other fillers. I'm not sure. I don't work there and I don't know their formula, so couldn't tell you. That's just experience. And then the black pencils you see, like Lumograph Black or Layouts by Generals or any of those that don't say coal or charcoal or whatever on them, those are the blacks. Those are carbon-based pencils. And then you have charcoal. Of course, you can have a charcoal pencil, right? It's organic, raw, messy, but it lets you know what's up. It lets you know that you made mistakes. Very, very hard to erase. Not because it doesn't lift off the paper, but as you know, if you've ever used charcoal, it gets everywhere. So you got to commit kind of early and just leave things be. And the trick with the paper over the coal, that doesn't work. Still makes a damn mess. It doesn't so much get into the paper as it does sits on top. Now, you could blow it off. Most of the coal, it will come off if you're careful. You could brush it off. And the pencil can kind of burnish it in a little bit into the paper. So that's kind of a nice middle ground rather than pure coal or charcoal by itself. And then you also have, and these are still pencils, by the way. And then you have the Conte, right? The Conte it's like, I don't for sure know, but it feels like a hardened coal. Like if you took charcoal or coal and added a binder to it so that it just scratches across. It's like dragging a chair across the floor when you're drawing with it. It's kind of fun to draw with because it kind of flakes off. And it kind of makes some interesting effects, but it's also very unforgiving. It does erase well, considering how dark it is. But it's kind of like charcoal. It kind of makes a mess. Not as much of a mess. A little bit more controlled. And then, as you start to get away from that, you get into colored pencil and stuff. That's just different pigments, right? Different binders, wax, and oil and things. And so it kind of makes you think, I didn't realize, what a pencil... The pencil generically, sure, it's just a little stick with something in it. But not all pencils are the same. Graphite, those little platelets that slide around. Carbon is usually amorphous, meaning it doesn't have a fixed shape. It just kind of thrown in there. And then charcoal, of course, you just burn up some tree and then start drawing with it. You could do that yourself. And then the Conte is sort of like, for me anyway, it's sort of like a charcoal pencil with some binder in it. So even though they're all pencils, it's hard to even say that something like a Conte has a softness rating to it. It's hard, but it's also very dark. So softness, the B and the H, that doesn't mean how dark it is. Now, relative to its own brand or its own line, as in if you use a Lumograph, a Stettler Mars Lumograph pencil from whatever I don't know, from like 4B to like 4H, okay? 4H is going to be very, very light, and then 4B is going to be very, very dark. However, if you compare that to a Mars Black, the Mars Black is going to be far darker because it looks darker because it's not reflecting that sheen from the graphite. However, as you go up, it's hard to tell. Like right beside each other, just by making marks, it's really, really hard to tell. But when you start burnishing and drawing with them, you can see it very well. So that's really what it is. It's like, so, I mean, what is a pencil? Yeah, a stick with some medium in it. I don't know. You tell me. I just wanted to kind of clear the air on that for myself, to kind of let you guys know what I went through. It's graphite. The more it is, obviously, the more shiny and slippery it's going to be. So the amount of graphite one pencil has may vary completely from another. It's just what they decide to do. So, I mean, not all 4Bs are the same. You're going to have to experiment and decide which ones you like if you feel like you need to do that. Most people will just rely on an HB, or a number 2 pencil, a mechanical sketch pencil, or, in the case of like these Sakura, what are they? The sumo grips, or, those are cool too. Or people use just a mechanical pencil to draw. But if you ever get a whim to go down the rabbit hole that I have, I got started, you know what? That's true too. I didn't even think about this. I actually got started with the sumo grip. The sumo grip, the Japanese graphite tends to run darker than European graphite or American. And then that's also kind of like, well, the black being mats are Japanese, so they're darker, right? Yeah, but they're also a little less graphite, which is interesting because the Sakura one that I have is very shiny. But it has, I don't know if it's more carbon or if it's the kind of thing they use. I don't really honestly know. But the whole question was, what is a pencil? I mean, it's sort of a vessel for medium, isn't it? If you enjoyed today's video and you don't mind hanging out with me, give me a like, thumbs up, share it, leave a comment. Let me know what do you think? What defines a pencil? Is it a casing with medium, or is it something more?